Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you're listening from. This is Luke, one half of Mind Over Mortar. And in this episode, we talk about the fear of judgment. We talk about how it affects us on a day-to-day basis. We talk about how it affects us in business, in life, in family. And we delve into lots of examples of how we've been affected by this in the past. It also links back to our ADHD and other things that affect us. So I've tried something a bit different in this episode, had a bit of feedback on the last one, and I was told that the audio was a bit too low. So I've turned the audio up on this one, and hopefully it's now sorted. If it's too loud, at least you've got the opportunity to turn it down. Another thing I've done on this episode is I haven't gone in and surgically trimmed all of the clips to get rid of all of the silences. Last time I did that, and I'll be honest with you, it didn't feel real. It didn't feel like the conversation was flowing as it should, as it was. And the whole point of this is that we have real conversations, and you as the listener or the watcher, you need to be able to experience that as well. So let me know if this looks and sounds better. It'd be good to get some feedback from you guys. Right, let's get into it.
Right, I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah. I've got a question for you, Luke.
Okay, go on then.
What is the most recent thing that you didn't do because you were worried about the fear of judgment?
I would say posting more on Instagram, on Facebook, on social medias, posting videos of me.
That's interesting because to me you seem such a natural at it. Oh, I'm serious.
Stop it.
Why do you say that?
Just before all of this, before I became an entrepreneur and a business owner, multiple business owner now as well, I was a very private person. I didn't have social media. I didn't have anything really.
We got visitors.
Yeah. I didn't have social media. I didn't have really anything. The only thing I had was an Instagram account, which you'd never have known it was me. Yeah. Not my picture, not my name, no nothing. And the sole purpose of that Instagram account was so that my wife could send me reels that she thought were funny.
Is your wife always been like social media active?
She's been a lot more social media active than I have been, definitely. She used to be very engaged with social media, but recently she's done an amazing job. Actually, recently been so much better. Like she I think she like found herself like doing that proverbial death scrolling, and stuff like that, and having her phone out when she was in company of other people, and it was like
oh wow,
yeah. So but and I think I kind of like mentioned it to her several hundred times, and and I think after the 900th time she sort of went, oh, okay, fair enough. No, she's much better at it, and she was, but I've just never been a social media person. Like I've never really had much of a presence on social media. I just didn't like it. I'll be honest with you, I didn't like it, and because of the fear of judgment. So that was the sole reason why I didn't like it, was because of feeling like I was being judged.
Yeah.
And I just think, well, it's easier just to say no to it, be ignorant to it, than it is to engage in it. So yeah, for the longest time, I didn't have anything. I deleted my Facebook, I deleted everything, just had that one Instagram account. But then, when I became a business owner, and that you need social media.
You have a reason to use it.
I do.
Utilise it, don't you?
Yeah. But
I see it as a tool now.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key fundamental difference between using it socially for social media and using it to further your business. There's two completely different avenues that you go down.
It is.
One is, one is you, and it's the personal perception and, how other people see you. And it's like, I'm just Luke Murphy, do you know what I mean? On Facebook, whatever, or Instagram and that. And if I'm posting videos of just me doing my thing, like who wants to see that? No one wants to bloody see that. But as a business owner, you're posting stuff that people you're hoping are interested in, and you're trying to reach the people that you know are interested in listening to the things that you're talking about and the things that you're discussing and you're showing them. So yeah, posting on Instagram has been, even still now, quite difficult, I think, for me, because there's a firewall in my brain, like there's the malware in my brain that's protecting me from the virus of judgment. So it's forcing me to stay closed, if that makes sense. And really, all I need to do is just buy an Apple computer, because it's got it all built in, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
If you do that, you can't get away from it. So.
No, I know, but it's just easier to process. Instead of having a firewall in place, where I feel like and I tell you what, I recently posted a video where I was just engaging with. I mean, I had investors engaging with me. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to put this on Instagram, and I'm going to just, let people know that I'm working with a select few investors at the moment, but I'm looking to potentially open my doors to some more soon. If anyone would be interested, then drop me a comment, send me a DM, whatever. I did that, and I got a comment on one of on the video, and it was really it was really funny. I laughed quite a lot at it. It was from this guy that I used to know, who's I don't have much time for him, put it that way, right? He was never someone that I liked in the past. I did not like him at all. I was forced to sort of like be around him because we worked in the same place and that, and he was around sort of like friend groups that I knew, and yeah, but I didn't like him. I didn't really know anyone else that really liked him, if I'm honest with you. He's just one of those guys that people don't like. And he commented on my video, and it was a negative comment as well. And I looked at it and I was like, it's easy to look at that and sort of like take offence to it. But one, I knew who it was coming from. So I wasn't, it just made me laugh, if I'm honest with you. And two, it's showed me that like, I've got a bit of a tougher skin on this sort of thing now, and I think it's just I've got to do it. I've just got to commit to it, and I don't know. It's just there's still something like holding me back, and I can't quite say exactly what it is at the moment. But yeah, as far as like the fear of judgment, I think that's probably what it comes down to. Unconsciously.
Yeah, definitely. I feel you as well. I've always hated social media up until last year, when I started really pushing my music.
Yep.
And I suddenly had a reason to use it, and suddenly you're like, wow, this is amazing. This is like I'm not going to say it's free, because nothing's free in life, because it's not anymore, because when you start having business accounts, it becomes expensive, and advertising and things like that. So
it does rack up.
But I was always paranoid about what people were thinking on the other side of the camera, and I still am to a point as well, in the same way that you are as well. And that's maybe not recently a problem. It's starting to become less of a problem for me. And
who are you actually scared of then? Who are you actually scared on the other side of the camera?
That's an interesting question. God, you had to put that one to me, didn't you? I don't know. I don't know if I can answer that, actually. And there lies the problem, I suppose. You're scared of a judgment, maybe not specific people. I'm just worried constantly about people being like, why is Matt doing that? Making that decision. That's the wrong decision. He should do it like this. And that's something that I've struggled with my entire life. I would procrastinate because I didn't want to make the wrong decision in the eyes of other people, which is a ridiculous statement to say out loud, now that I say it out loud. And that holds you back. Holds you back big time. And the fundamental part of social media probably portrays that in me not using it, and I'd stay away from it like you described as well. But one thing I've noticed recently as well is I was always worried about being able to articulate and get across what I'm trying to say, because one thing I've always struggled with is like the short-term memory. which I believe ties in with ADHD. I've recently found out short-term memory deficit, I think. So I'm kind of like unable to retain the information in the front of my brain.
Your prefrontal cortex, isn't it? It's like
Yeah, your prefrontal cortex. I can't remember. I have to speak to Faggy.
Yeah.
she'll tell me. Faggy Lehman, she's the ADHD queen. Yeah. So I've been working with her recently, and she's been helping me understand what's been going on. So, and that made me scared because I get on the camera, for example, and I'm posting these posts, and then I'm worried that I'm not saying what I want to say correctly. So what happens now is I have to do takes about 10 times before I can actually put the video out, and I'm happy with it. But it takes that long for my brain to warm up as well. So I'll do the first take, and I'll be sitting here, and I'll be going, "Hey guys," and I go blank. And then after a few times, then my brain sort of warms up, and away it goes. It's like stretching your body, isn't it? And then I can get it. And once I've got it, it's then there, and I'm feeling good, and I feel alive. And I've actually started kind of posting on some of the group chats that I'm on. That are, we're all together in groups of various things. I'm part of a group called the 5 a.m. Club, and this is a bunch of just working class guys, but they all train at 5 o'clock in the morning because they'll go out and do a 10k run in the morning, and then post it on there. And it's inspirational seeing these guys do that, because it makes you think, oh yeah, I should do that. And it boosts you. It's amazing being around these people. And I've started posting on them groups as well to help me get over that fear of judgment. And what actually happens when you get over that fear of judgment is people start to embrace it. You might have a select few, like you're mentioning, where they'll be wanting to be negative, but in reality, most people aren't. Most people want to grow, and they want you to grow as well. And it's taken me a long time to discover that. But that kind of links in with, I feel that judgment on the other side of the phone. And I don't know if it's something to do with people not being able to see me, which then makes me more paranoid, because when I'm sitting in front of you like now, I can gauge your reaction of it. I mean, it's harder when you're ticking.
Yeah. Never let them know your next move.
No, but I love face-to-face interaction because you can read the energy, you can gauge facial expression. When I'm on the phone or social media, I can't do that.
No.
And so going back to the question, the fear of judgment that I've asked you, for me, phone calls are a massive example of that. So I'll get on the phone to a landlord, for example, and all I'm trying to do is offer them a solution. But I'm worried that they're going to be like, "Who's this guy? What's he doing? What's it?" And because that's natural instinct, isn't it? When someone comes at you with a new bit of information, you're a bit like, "Whoa, hang on," what? And you hold back. So I get worried about that, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think that's a common worry. I don't think that you're alone in that. I think a lot of people worry with regards to feeling sort of like judged by the other person on the end of the phone, and I think for me, the easiest way for me to sort of get my head out of that space is to just remind myself who I'm actually talking to. So, like, if I'm talking to an agent, yeah, I'll remind myself I'm talking to an agent. Now, they need me more than I need them.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're selling a product. I'm buying. You don't walk into the supermarket and some guy from Sainsbury's is standing by the cucumbers, and you've got to speak to him and basically negotiate the possibility of purchasing a cucumber, do you? It doesn't work like that. You go in and you buy it. You're a consumer. You buy it.
Yeah.
And that's what you are on the phone to an agent. You're a buyer. You're the person with the money. They're the person with the property. So as soon as I started more using using that more and sort of putting myself in their position, I started to become better on the phones. I mean, to be honest with you, I've never really been that bad when it comes to talking to people on the phones. Like, excuse me, the previous job that I worked in, I was on the phone all the bloody time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Speaking to people all the time. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like it's not new to me whatsoever talking to people on the phone. I'll give an example. So recently, finding a deal for someone at the time, and they wanted a rent to HMO. So they were looking for a HMO property, and they wanted it sort of close by, sort of near where I live. So I found a town which was sort of not too far away from here, probably about half an hour or so. Pretty sort of professional driven sort of town, and it had a load of HMOs that were up for sale. And I was like, right, okay, well that's a good sign. If there are properties up for sale, then there's a chance that you might be able to do a lease option with one of these, or you might be able to potentially look at other HMOs that are still on the market. Because if if you've got an area where there's loads of HMOs on the market, then there's fear creeping in, for the landlords. So they're not all selling for no reason, and the ones that are retaining are also probably going to be scared or, wondering why everyone's selling, what's going on, do they know something I don't know? So I thought, do you know what, the best people I think to speak to are going to be HMO landlords who own HMOs now. So I found a list. I think I used a mixture of Gumtree, Open Rent, and what's the other one? Spare Room.
Yeah.
I used a mixture of those three, and I narrowed down 8 landlords, because quite often you'll find that there's loads of properties up on there, but it's like the tenants living in them are like it's like a house share, and they're trying to fill a room or something like that. So they're doing it on behalf of the landlord, because they've got an agreement with the landlord, so they've got to fill the other rooms as well. And I just thought, stuff it, I'm just going to start ringing them. So I rang the first one, and I remember talking to this lady, a lovely lady, who owns this HMO, and I tell you what, I could not string a sentence together to save my life. I don't know why. I really don't know why. I just, all of a sudden, just everything just disappeared out of my head that I wanted to say. So I was like, right, okay. Started explaining what I was doing, and she was like, right, so, sorry, let me get this straight. You're a management company. I was like, no. I was like, no. I was like, just, basically muffed it up. So I was like, okay, apologies for wasting your time, blah, blah, blah. I just got off the phone. I had to get off the phone to her. So I learned a lot from that, and I wrote it down. I was like, you messed up on there. And then I thought, right, I'm just going to keep ringing, because why not? The next person I called was a gentleman who owns a HMO, and this conversation just went perfect. It just flowed. I knew exactly what I was saying, and I just said everything I needed to say. And he reciprocated like so much. Like I couldn't get him to shut up. He was just going. He was talking. He was like asking me questions. Like he sounded really interested. Anyway, he wasn't interested in doing a rent to HMO at the time, but he said to me on the phone, he's like, look, that's not to say that I might not be interested in doing that in the near future though. He said, just not right now. I've just finished doing the renovation on it. I've just basically re-renovation. He's had it for a few years. I've just filled the property with like the perfect tenants. He's like, I want to sort of like just reap the reward for a little bit. He's like, but I know that the headaches are coming. So he said, I think we can have a chat down the line. So I saved his details, asked if I could put them on my CRM, and he was like, yeah, no problem. So, but so that when it comes to the being scared on the phone and like the fear of judgment and messing up and stuff like that, like mine's a perfect example of like persistence is the key. So without being persistent, without continuing, then you're never going to know, you're never going to get better. And it's so easy to have a shocking phone call and then it'd just be like, no, I'm done for the day. I'm not ringing anyone else today. That was violent. That honestly feels like I've just been violated. I've been there, but you just got to keep going. And, for example, me, my story of me ringing people, to just ringing people just to see if they're interested in investing. I rang so many people. No, 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 no. Everyone said no, you know, but I was going for no because it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
It's all about volume. You know, yeah, not a problem. Okay, brilliant. Nice catching up with you. Speak to you later. Bye. Next one, next one, next one, next one. And then boom, investor. Boom, another investor. Do you know what I mean? It was like, whoa, hang on a second. It just sort of happened. No, it didn't. It didn't just happen. It happened because I put the work in, because, you know, I was persistent.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like the mindset of it all, I do not think, I just, you know, when you think about the other person on the side, or the person on the other side of the phone, you've got to put them into a perspective in your own mind and explain to yourself, like, it's just a friend you're talking to, or it's it might be a landlord that you're talking to, it might be an agent that you're talking to, whatever. But if it's a landlord, they might have a problem, you can solve it. You're a problem solver there. If it's an agent, they're selling a product, you're a buyer, you're the buyer. You know, if it's a friend, you know, just reaching out socially just to reconnect with someone. Oh, by the way, I'm doing this. Really? Tell me more. You know, and it's like you offer value. So wherever the situation sort of goes, depending on the person you're talking to, you've got to sort of have it in your mind before you start talking to them, who you're talking to.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. That's an interesting point when you say about you're just talking to your friend, because do you ever feel like when you're talking to an agent, for example, or you're talking to another professional, a landlord, someone else who's trying to do business with, that you act and feel differently compared to when you're ringing up friends? I.e., it's very easy to be relaxed when you're talking to friends. And you mentioned about reaching out, looking for investors, etc. And obviously some of them are going to say no. But when I'm reaching out to landlords or estate agents, for example, when I first started doing this, it was really hard because in my brain I was like, well, they're a businessman, they're a professional. This is going to be difficult. This is going to be a hard call. This is going to be wrapped up in that tough shell that we were talking about earlier. Whereas with a friend, you know that you just have a laugh at them. You don't care. So, yeah, so what I'm saying is, have you found that when you've been doing this, that you've gone through a transition where now estate agents, professionals are like talking to friends? Or is it different for you?
No, yes and no. Sorry. What I've come to understand is the key is rapport. So the more you get to know someone, the more familiar you become with them.
Yeah.
The easier it is to talk to them like a friend. So it's easy to talk to your friends about anything, you know, and feel relaxed when you're doing it. When you're talking to someone you've never spoken to, you're going to have your guard up naturally because you've never spoken to this person. So you don't know how to judge or gauge them, or, you know, what the response you're going to get, the rapport you're going to get with them on the phone that day or whatever, and whether the relationship's ever going to build over time. You don't know. But you have to treat every single one of those people, regardless, irrespective of if it's the first time or the 100th time you've spoken to them, like they're your friend. Because if you talk to them like a businessman all the time, you know, they're only ever going to know you as a businessman. Yeah. But property and business is a people industry. Like, you know, business in its entity is about people. Yeah. So if you can create that universe for you where you're just, you know, you're that people person, then you're going to get so much further than the person who turns up every day with his briefcase, his suit, you know, his grey suit with his white shirt on and his black shoes and his black briefcase, and, you know, like the salesman.
Yeah.
Turns up, who meets 100 people a day, and he's very monotoned. He has a job to do. He does his script, does his pitch, moves on to the next one. That guy's never really going to, you know, get that far in life because he doesn't have that personal connection. He doesn't have the openness and the willingness to have a rapport with, if that makes sense.
Well, people do business with people, don't they?
Correct.
That's how it works. And this is something that I've recently started to get my head around, so it's become easier for me as well. And for a long time, I didn't see it like that. I saw business as a I saw business as a different entity, so it scared me.
Yeah.
It made me scared of that judgment.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not a businessman, so we're not gonna go near him. But that's not how it works, is it? You have to offer value to the person that you're doing business with, and they have to offer value in return in order to make good business. And a way of doing that is through creating that rapport, like you say, and having that relationship with them, so that you can understand what each other need and how you can make the situation best for both sides of the party. That's the way I see it, anyway.
Definitely. I think business is 3 types of transactions. Business is personal, emotional, and physical. So whatever it is that you're doing in business, yeah, right, there's always a personal transaction, right? Whether it's we're talking to each other about something, okay, and, you know, just building a rapport. The emotional transaction where one of you offers up some advice or whatever that resonates with the other person. And then there's a physical. It could be the transaction of the process that you're doing. It could be buying a product or whatever. But there's always 3 fundamental things that I find in business when it comes to transactions. And I think a lot of people overlook the first one, the personal one. So the way that I use that to my advantage is, you know, we know now I've got Tourette's, okay, but not everyone knows that.
No.
So I use that. I use it as an opener. I mean, you know, we spoke in the last episode about where you were talking about, you remember you were talking about when I'm talking to new people and stuff like that, and how do I sort of, you know, tell, like, show myself or whatever. Or,
Yeah.
And I don't, you know, I will openly, and I have been for many years now, open about it. You know, I tell anyone about it, and I will lead with it, because, you know, what I find it offers to me, or it offers to the person, sorry, that I'm talking to, is it offers my vulnerability. So I show vulnerableness with that person, and they automatically can relax around me more.
Yeah, definitely.
If
I feel that. I resonate with that as well.
Yeah.
Some people don't necessarily, but for me, that's very important as well.
It is important. It is important, and like you say, you know, business is it ultimately is about people. You know, so if I can show my vulnerability, or if I can show that, you know, I'm being vulnerable or whatever with the person, and that's just me offering up that I've got Tourette's. And it might be that, I mean, I won't just lead in with it, for God's sakes. I won't be like, hi, my name's Luke, I've got Tourette's. You know, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, you know, if I'm having a conversation with someone, and I might not be noticing that I'm ticking, if I'm doing a head tick or blinking or whatever, I might not notice that I'm doing it, but they might notice. And I mean, quite a few occasions I've had it where I'll be talking to someone, they've noticed it, and then I've seen them go, whoa, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm okay. And you know, I'll be like, sorry, I've got Tourette's, you know, and that all of a sudden sort of like they go, oh, sorry, you know, and then they sort of like disarm themselves. They feel a bit more disarmed about it, yeah. And that just like I say, it shows, you know, my vulnerable side, and then allows them to sort of relax a little bit more, and then we can have a better conversation.
Yeah, definitely. When you're talking about your vulnerabilities, when you're talking to people, is there ever a point when you're having that conversation and you're feeling the tics, and then it makes you worried about the judgment of that person, and then the fear of failing because of it?
The fear of failing because of it. No.
Has that ever crossed your mind? No.
No. And do you know what? I could never let that creep into my brain.
Really?
No.
That's interesting, because the fear of failing scares me, which is ironic because my recent learnings sort of suggest otherwise. You have to fail in business to grow.
Absolutely. Failure is the predecessor of success.
Yeah, and I've always been scared of failing because of the judgment of other people. Right. And I've been like that since I was a child as well. You have to fail to be successful in business. That's what I've recently learnt. And it's something that I'm struggling with as well, because you make mistakes and then you beat yourself up because of it. But it's something I've always struggled with, even when I was a child, I would say. And a lot of people probably do. So I used to race in the southern counties for swimming, So I used to spend a lot of time in the pool training, and you're around a very competitive environment where you have to, you're trained to win. So failure is not necessarily an option.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's had an impact on that going forward. So then as a teenager, you're competing and you're in the system which always teaches you that you have to win in order to succeed. You have to put in the hard work. You have to succeed. Otherwise, and failure is not an option. But in reality, I mean, we all fail, and we have to fail to learn in order to grow. So because of that competitiveness and that systemized thinking, I've always been scared of failing, which has held me back, I think, as well. It's not allowed me to grow because I've always been a little bit worried about trying. I've always been fine with trying things on my terms, in the sense of, so I've always been into sport and extreme sports and snowboarding, skiing, mountain biking, motocross, things like that. But I would do that on my terms, I suppose. But I'd always still be paranoid, even if I was doing motocross racing. I'd always be paranoid about what other people were thinking while I was riding around the track, which is now I think about it, which is really stupid. Because at the end of the day, you do those sports to try and escape reality.
Yeah, you do.
And but in actual fact, I would be riding around thinking, oh, what are the people on the side of the track thinking? Oh, they see me go by. Oh, he looks like he's not riding properly today, or oh no, he's riding well, and that would be going through my mind constantly. So going into business like that and trying to set up and establish, shaking that mindset has been very difficult. I can't explain why I felt like that in the past. Maybe there's reasons that are linked with ADHD, I'm not sure, but more episodes to come on that, I suppose.
Yeah, interesting, man. So you've talked about that's a good point as well. You've talked about like the mindset side of things. So, I mean, what about like the physical sensations that your body might feel? Like, do you get any like physical sensations that like your body tells you that you're scared or you're worried? And if you do, like, what do they look like? Are they sort of like tight chest, hot face? What sort of, how does it resonate with you?
That is an interesting question. That's most definitely everything you just described.
Okay.
One thing I've noticed recently is I will wake up at night. Now, I don't sleep that well anyway, and that's probably one symptom of the constant paranoia that I'm going to fail, I'm not going to do good enough, I'm not going to be able to provide. That deal is going to fall through. That I'm going to upset that investor, for example. Those landlords tomorrow that I'm going to ring up, they're going to think that I'm an idiot. All these things that come, and I'm sure most business people, most normal people, most parents, for example, will be paranoid about. So for me, I mean, I wake up sometimes with like anxiety, and then I can't breathe, and I'm like in the middle of the night, and then you're like, hang on, what are you doing? Like, and you have to calm yourself down, and then you go try and go back to sleep, don't you? Another thing that I've recently, so I've got tinnitus in my ears, and I always thought it was because of the swimming. I got multiple ear infections when I was a kid, and I've always ridden motorbikes as well, and I used to commute every day to my employment on motorbikes, and I thought I had hearing damage for that. But one thing I've noticed recently is that when I'm stressed, the ringing starts in my ears.
Really?
And then it suppresses and goes away as I relax off. And this happened last night as well. I was working on my family's commercial property. The wiring wasn't going to plan. It was, causing me all sorts of headaches. And I got home and I vented to my wife, and the ringing starts. And I was thinking, hang on, maybe this is a symptom of the stress and being overwhelmed all the time, I suppose, as well. But I also broke my back and my pelvis when I was 23 in a motorbike accident. So I have the physical symptoms of that and the chronic pain that comes with that in my glutes and my back. So I notice that when I'm stressed, or I'm not sleeping because of the stress, it makes that pain worse as well, because your body tightens up. It fatigues quicker. You get exhausted as well, and it's just a constant cycle of the pain causing you to be stressed because you're worried about the pain, and then the stress coming from the pain because you're stressed.
It's a vicious circle.
It's a vicious circle, and it's not me looking for sympathy. It is what it is. We've all got our problems. Everyone has got problems. That's the whole point of us doing this, isn't it?
Yeah.
We want to target people and see if we can resonate, and they come out the woodwork and go, oh, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't have that situation, but I feel like this because of that. So that's what we're trying to achieve, isn't it? But for me, it's about understanding that process. So when I broke my back when I was 23, I kind of ran in denial, in essence, and I kept going. And where I should have allowed my body to recover, I didn't. I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing because I was worried about the fear of judgment from people that I was going to be a burden, or I wasn't going to be able to perform. I wasn't going to be able to do my job at the time. And I was paranoid about not being able to keep up. So I then just kind of kept pushing, even though what I should have done is let my body recover for longer. And what it then did is it caused my body to be aching and tired all the time because I was pushing too much, because I was probably overcompensating, because I was worried about the judgment of other people, which is, again, it sounds ridiculous now, I say it out loud. And then it causes the exhaustion. And this probably links in with ADHD as well, because ADHD, you thrive on learning new things. You thrive on having multiple plates spinning. So in my brain, I've constantly got all these plates spinning, and you get a project or someone comes along and says, can you do this job? And I go, yeah, of course I can. Because you want to please. Because I don't want to be, I'm scared of the judgment if I say no. This is getting better. Still something I'm working on, but that's something I really struggled with. So linking back to the stress and the physical injury, I take on all these things and all these projects from people and for myself, because I wanted to satisfy my own need to have to do more. And then I'd end up doing myself in and burning out. And it's always been this constant up and down cycle, just like a wave of excitement, depression, excitement, depression, excitement, depression, where you overcompensate because of the fear of judgment and the fear of failure. To summarise, it's very difficult to have an issue, and we've all got our issues. You with your Tourette's, me with my my physical injury. Have an ADHD mind where you just have a capacity where you have to do more, and then not experience all of these symptoms because of it. Stress, anxiety, sleep deprivation, everything we're going to talk about in this podcast going forward.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, like, you've got physical effects based on things that have happened to you in your life and your past and that, and then it plays into your mental health and your psychological warfare inside your own brain. And I find what people do in those instances where, like, there's big trauma that happens in your life, you develop protective behaviours. And, like, for example, in my case, when my second child was born, it was a very difficult birth for my wife. and we almost lost my wife and our second child. And for me, I mean, this will be this is not something to talk about today, but definitely would talk about it in future if it was interest to anyone. But I wasn't even there at the time. I'd gone to the car to go get the bags, and in the time for me going there, the red button got pushed. The crash team was on the way, and I was on the phone to my mum, just elated that she'd gone into labour and that we were having our second child. And then I just a million and one things happened after that, and it resulted in me actually being locked out of the ward.
Oh man!
When this was all happening. So this was a very difficult time for me, very difficult thing. And even when I got in there, it was like, throw these on, where am I going? Like, we're going through here and then I got, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what's happening. No one's talking to me. I'm asking questions. They're refusing to answer my questions. And it was the first time in my life that I can sort of actually note and relate in my brain. That I actually suffered with a mental health condition. So I developed PTSD after that happened, and that looked like what that looked like was shortly after the birth of our second child, and we went home, and I became very angry all the time, like very, very, very angry all the time.
What were you angry at? Anything specific?
No. Nothing specific. Absolutely everything and anything.
What would happen when you got up in the morning, out of interest?
When I got up in the morning, I struggled to get up in the morning to begin with.
Yeah.
Struggled to get up in the morning. Didn't want to go to work. Didn't want to talk to anyone. But when I got up in the morning, I just didn't want to hear anything. I just didn't want to see anyone. Didn't want to talk to anyone. I just wanted to stay inside my box, in my lane, and not have to deal with anyone else. And I think what that was, it was a protective behaviour unknowingly happening in my own brain, where there was so much going on there that it didn't have the capacity or space for anyone else's shit. So it automatically just sort of like closed up. And I ended up having let's say PTSD, and I was diagnosed with that through a clinical assessment, and it was really difficult. And I went through Health in Mind, and the team that I dealt with in Health in Mind, and the CBT counsellor, she was amazing, and it really helped me. But what I didn't realise was when I was doing the CBT, which is cognitive behavioural therapy for anyone who doesn't know that, what I was told by my counsellor at the time was that I was developing protective behaviours that were becoming concerning. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Can you tell me what they are? And it's funny because now I sit here and I'm going to talk about this, right? But I'll say it after. But I was basically creating a schedule. I was basically scheduling my whole life, yeah. So like I was making sure that I had to go to the gym every day. I had to leave the house at a certain time every day. I would, make sure that I get X amount of work done every single day. I would have to make sure I eat lunch every single day. I would take my lunch with me every day. I'd have to make it the night before. And what she said is, my counsellor, she was like, this is a worrying protective behaviour that you're developing. And I said, I don't understand how or why. She said, well, what the brain does is when in times of uncertainty, yeah, it tries to create certainty. So what it's doing is it's basically trying to create a narrative in your brain that it understands and can replicate because it's safe and it knows.
That's interesting.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you then create a really strict schedule with yourself, right? And she's like, you're being too hard on yourself. You're being too much on yourself at the moment. And I said, I don't understand. It's just structure in my life. She said, no, it's not. She said, it's really not.
Wow.
But for me, I thought I was just becoming organised. But in fact, I wasn't. I was actually developing protective behaviours, which are concerning on, in times when you're having mental health issues.
Yeah.
But then what I thought was, hang on. So what about every other entrepreneur and businessman that has a strict schedule. And you look at these millionaires and like you can see their daily sort of like check sheet of what they do, and admittedly I don't necessarily believe that that's what they actually do, but not all of them at least anyway. But you go, well, is that not a protective behaviour?
This is the problem, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking the same as what you were thinking, like that's a good thing. We need structure and we need consistency. Something I struggle with. I've always done shift work, so I've always been with my trade. I was always in fault finding, so I'd be just doing as and when whatever, and it never helped my spiral of going up and down and anger and not having consistent sleep by doing night shifts and things like this. So for you to say that to me, bearing in mind my wife has always had a very strict schedule, and she's always craved me to have one too, is very, very interesting, because where you say about your anger coming from traumatic experience as well, I would say after my accident, my anger got worse. I was always quite angry as a teenager and always went up and down anyway, which we now know as ADHD. But it is what it is. But I suppose
slap a label on that.
Yeah, well, there's you've also got the testosterone of being a teenager as well.
Yeah, of course.
But I never did anything to deal with my crash, and my K levels were so high that I was apparently an hour off of like dying and stuff like this, and
Sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah. So when I had my motorbike crash, basically what happened is I hit the side of a car and disappeared into the bush. I got taken to Addenbrooke's Hospital, and when you have trauma like that, there's a chemical produced, they call it K levels. I don't know if it's ketone or something like that, but so when they get to a certain point, they become dangerously high. You end up essentially getting blood poisoning, where you can then die. And I was like on the cusp of this. But the problem is when you're 22, 23, you don't care about that. All you want to do is go home. But then I've got everyone telling me, no, you need to stay in there because you're dangerously close to like. But you like I said earlier, I was running in denial. So all of these issues, all of these fundamental sort of things that happen, I never really dealt with. I just kind of went back to work as quick as I could because I wanted to carry on with life and pretend that everything was okay, because I was worried about people thinking that I was then lazy and not capable and blah, blah, blah. So, and then after that, I was very angry, much the same as you. So when you're telling me this, I resonate those feelings. When you don't deal with these problems, they come up in really bad ways. But for me, what I'm thinking right now is that Jade, my wife, she has this such structured routine. And this is new information for me, you telling me this right now as well. And I'm just suddenly thinking this. And we're going to do an episode about how all of these things affect our family going forward as well. And it will be interesting to come back to this. But I'm suddenly thinking, like, I wonder if, like, Jade's obsessive routine has come from me and my trauma and what's happened, because she had to go through that as well. And it has a massive effect on everyone around you at the same time. The anger that I experienced through that as well, and not wanting to get up in the morning, and when someone says, "You want a cup of tea?" No, and like all they're trying to do is help you, and you go through that process, don't you? And when you're in that state of mind, you can't see out of it. It's like having blinkers on, isn't it? And it doesn't matter how much people try and help you and give you advice as well, you still can't come out of it. I mean, it for in your situation, for you recognizing that was a problem, and then going, okay, I need help.
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No, my wife referred me.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
she made you go, I suppose. Well, yeah. So because that would have affected her as well massively, wouldn't it?
if it was up to me, that I would never have done it.
No,
I would never have, ever have signed up to Health in Mind, referred myself.
Oh wow. Okay, so that's kind of the same situation with me, where you kind of run in denial and just like, you don't want help. You're okay. Everything's fine.
Yeah, I'm a man. Do you know what I mean?
I'm a man. Exactly.
I'm a geezer.
I've got to
Do you know what I mean?
provide.
I'm strong. Do you know what I mean? Mental health doesn't affect me. Doesn't affect me. This is how I thought before.
That's it. That's exactly it.
It genuinely is.
And were you worried that if you didn't portray that I'm a man, I'm okay,
It shows weakness.
it shows weakness?
Correct.
That people are going to judge you for
Correct.
it, aren't they?
That's exactly what I thought. I thought I would be judged for having therapy. I really did.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but not just by by everyone, by my family, by my friends, myself more than anything.
Yeah.
I would be judging myself, and I think that's the hardest one to live with, is that if you judge yourself negatively, like, that's the worst thing that you can do. It creates such an impact on your life by you judging yourself negatively, and that's why it's really important to speak well about yourself. Don't be negative about yourself, because if your brain connects with a negative notion, that your cognitive thinking brain sort of speaks to itself and says, you're negative things, then you're going to become a negative person. It's going to have negative repercussions. And I know this because this is exactly what happened to me. And it's when you start having that positive reinforcement in your mindset, things start to change. Your attitude starts to change. Like, when was it? Probably, I think I was definitely dealing with a lot of stuff even before I got I was diagnosed with PTSD. I think I was definitely dealing with a lot of stuff. Well, sorry, I was not dealing with a lot of stuff that was going on. And I think that the PTSD was like the tipping point. So when I had the therapy, it reset my brain. It reset my understanding of mental health. And, obviously I've always suffered with mental health, but it's just built up over many years and I've just ignored it until now it's exposed and it's raw and I've got to deal with it. And I did. But for the longest time, do you know what? I couldn't remember the last time that I was happy. For the longest time. And people say, well, what is happiness? What is happiness to you? Well, in my life I've had a handful of experiences in my life where I've been walking along somewhere or been doing something and I've just had an overwhelming feeling of happiness and love and warmth, as if like God has come down and touched me, sort of thing. Yeah. And that's what I understand as sort of like happiness. Now, it sounds a bit extreme, no one's going to feel like that all the time, and I get that, but those spells used to happen more frequently, and then they just all of a sudden started to peter out. And I thought, why can't I just be happy? What is going on with me? Why am I not happy anymore? And I've even spoken to my wife about it, years ago. I was like, I just don't get it. I just don't ever feel happy anymore. And it wasn't until, again, going back to the PTSD and that I realised that it was all linked to my mental health. It was all linked to the suppression and just more. I can just, it's like the bin that's overflowing. You just squeeze, pushing it down. Just, I can get that banana skin in there, and you're just trying to like put so much in this box. you've got to take the trash out, and that's what the therapy did for me. It took the trash out and reset the bag, because, and I now understand, like what happiness is to me. And I'm able to enjoy it more, and I don't get those overwhelming feelings, like I said, like almost like a touch from God, which I'd be amazing if I could. But I understand that's not normal. But what happiness is what you make of it as well. It's how you understand. It's all subjective as well. Happiness view is different for me. But like I said, it was always the fear of judgment that stopped me from doing those things. It was always the fear of judgment that stopped me being happy. It It was always the fear of judgment that was holding me back in one way or another. So until I let go of the idea that judgment is just a notion that someone has, or it's a thought that someone has, or it's an action that someone does, and ultimately the person who's doing it might not even know that they're creating judgment. And 9 times out of 10, this is again my personal experience, 9 times out of 10 it's all in my own head.
Yeah.
They're not even doing anything.
No.
Like, it's just in my own head.
The amount of sagas that I've probably caused because of that exact thought.
Yeah.
Like you say, because of the fear of judgment of people. But the problem is, when you're depressed, which I've probably not long come out of either, and my reason, like I mentioned earlier, was because I would take on more to try and fill the void and try and compensate for the feeling of being unsatisfied, which comes from a couple of places. Comes from ADHD, comes from probably PTSD as well, that I never dealt with, because I never saw a therapist. I never went to the doctors. I try my very best, even still, to stay away from the doctors and just deal with everything myself. But as I'm getting older, I realise that I can't do that. So, but an example is when I was working in engineering, I went on to nights for more money, and I thought that was going to make things better, because money will make things better, won't it? So I did that. It was great for about 3 months, and then it's all started to crumble very quickly, because the nights was doing me in because of the lack of sleep. And then it really spiraled out of control into chronic depression again, because it makes all of the things worse when you're in that frame of mind. Then it makes the pain worse, it makes the stress worse, it makes the how am I going to keep this up worse. But I've got to carry on being okay, because I'm a man, as mentioned. So for a long time I felt the same, not happy. And I think it's still something I'm dealing with as well. But I'm now finding that when I talk about this, which is why it's part of the reason that we set this up, wasn't it? It was to help other people by helping ourselves.
Selfishly.
So, but if we can resonate with other people on these issues, then that just, I mean, I feel satisfied sitting here now, talking like this, hoping that people resonate and reach out with us, so then we can talk to them about it as well. Absolutely, and for me, that I've found that once I got rid of that fear of judgment, and I just went, Luke, I need help, for example, things start, the happiness and the satisfaction start to come back. So I still suffer with the anger and the blinking mist, I suppose I'm going to call it. I don't have a technical term for it, where you can't get out of that frame of mind. It's very difficult, but I'm getting better at it as I'm starting to share it with people like yourself. I now see happiness as an appreciation. For example, I now look at my son and him just walking through and you just appreciating, that's happiness for me now. Happiness used to be me going out on a motocross bike and going as fast as I could, clearing whatever double I was doing, going kite surfing and sending it and going big, going as fast as you could on a motorbike, hitting that corner at that speed. The adrenaline used to be my happiness, and then everything else was just shallow emptiness. Which then makes it very difficult to be sitting still. So then you take on more, and then you keep doing more of it, and then you finally get to a point where you go, I can't keep this up. So now that I've started to work out that happiness is actually just appreciation for what you've got, i.e. I've got my wife, and luckily still, and my little boy, and I've got people like yourself that I can share this with. That's my happiness now. It's that appreciation rather than that adrenaline that I used to thrive and crave. So going forward into business, for me, if I can build something with people and like-minded people, and I can help myself and them grow together, that's satisfaction, that's appreciation for me, and that's happiness. That's what I'm trying to achieve going forward. So it's taken me a long time to work it out, but we're at the start of the journey, and hopefully I can carry on building with people like yourself.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely definitely something that I think about a lot as well. And it's not, like I say, the whole sort of, like I said, that whole fear of judgment, it just causes a paralysis for some people. But yeah, I mean, we could talk about this for hours and hours. But yeah, I think this is a good sort of stopping point anyway. But I think if like you said, if any of this resonates with any of our listeners, then I think this is the reason why we're doing it. Like we said before, it's something that we've been building, something that we've been structuring together, just off the cuff, just talking about sort of personal conversations, having a chat, and realising that what we're talking about, sort of, for both of us was important. And if it's important for both of us, and when we fed that back to our family and friends, they said the same thing, then that was the reason that we've decided to do this. So yeah, if any of this has resonated with you guys, then that's the reason for it. And I hope you guys tune into the next episode.
So I hope you enjoyed the episode, everyone. This was episode 2. We would also at this point like to encourage anyone who wants to reach out to us to ask us some questions. We're looking to gather some questions because we've already had some from some of the listeners and viewers, and we want to be able to answer these questions properly. So if you've got any questions surrounding or relating to what we're talking about, or any experiences that you want to share with us, then please head over to our Instagram page, drop us a DM. We'd love to hear from you. See you in the next episode.